Hello everyone! This is Paushta Fashion Workshop. I remind you that we post new videos every day. I know that you like it when I show you how to sew garments without the basic patterns. It's understandable. It's very convenient to work this way. I've already showed you how to make dresses, coats, and jackets without patterns. I want you to understand that not all garments can be made without basic patterns. I use mine even for making simple t-shirts. I do understand that you like the videos about sewing garments without patterns. You can do it even when going on a vacation or to a country house, for example. I also do have some clothes made this way in my wardrobe. I've already showed you how to make the dressing gowns without the basic patterns. We've also showed you how to make dresses with dolman sleeves using this technique. I've even showed you how to make coats this way. The technique I'm going to show you today is a bit different from what I've showed you before.
Мы с вами проходили два раза. Один раз проходили халатик. Я одевала на себя такой синенький давно. Потом Наташа делали с цельнокроенным рукавом. Но хочу сказать, что сегодня мы немножко по-другому будем строить.
Have a look at the sketch. This is a simple top with the chest darts, the waist tucks, and the drop shoulders. After watching these videos, you'll be able to make such tops without problems. You can change the neckline however you want. Make a round or a square one instead of the V-neck. You can make a seam on the center front and make a button stand in it. You can attach a circle or a half-circle skirt here and make a dress instead. You can make a pleated or a flared dress. You can attach a collar or a flounce. You do not necessarily have to make the waist tucks. Make a shirt collar and a straight dress, and wear it with a belt as a regular shirt dress. This base allows you sewing a lot of different garments, just like the pattern for sewing dresses with dolman sleeves. This pattern is perfect for sewing different light clothes. Garments made on its bases are very convenient.
Пляж, дача и все такое прочее, как бы очень удобно иметь вот такого простого кроя вещи.
I rarely buy clothes in the mass market shops, even the most simple ones. I think that I'd better sew what I need myself. I know that we are able to do it. Let's talk about the needed measurements: the bust, the waist, the hips, the width of the back, the length of the back, and the bust height. The bust should be measured on the level of the most prominent parts. You already know how to measure the waist and the hips. The width of the back should be measured from one shoulder to the other. The technique is different from the one used for making basic patterns. The width of the back in my case is 41 centimeters. The bust height should be measured from the shoulder to the apex of the breast. 31 centimeters in my case. The techniques for taking the measurements in this case are very simple. They are different from the ones we use when making basic patterns on the basis of my 10 measurement cutting system. The course on the 10 measurement cutting system will be available very soon. We can start working now. I'll be working with this chart. I made it myself. I have the dot openings written here. It can be from 6 to 9 centimeters wide, depending on the size. It's also written here that the opening can be even bigger for the ladies with the big bust. Make a mock-up first, see if it fits you perfectly or not, and then decide if the opening should be made bigger. Do not forget about the extensions we need to add for the balance. It's also written in this chart, from 1.5 centimeters to 3 centimeters.
И для размера 54-58 3 сантиметра. Хочу сказать о балансе.
I want to talk to you about these measurements. People often ask me what the balance extension is. As I've already said, my course on the 10 measurement cutting system will be available very soon. In this course, I will explain what the balance is and where it comes from very thoroughly. In the course, I will also tell you a formula for measuring it. In this case, the extension for the balance isn't measured or calculated using a formula. When I was learning to sew, we used to use the chart I've just showed you. Sometimes people tell me that the extension for the balance is 10 centimeters wide or 8 centimeters wide. Guys, come on. How can the front be 10 centimeters longer than the back? Just try to imagine a dress in which the front is 8 centimeters longer than the back. Use the recommendations which I have in this chart. The extension for the balance is usually from 1.5 centimeters to 3 centimeters wide. Sometimes, in the very rare cases, you can find a garment in which the balance is 3.5 centimeters, but not more. In the left column, you can find the sizes, in the middle, the corresponding dot opening, and in the right one, the balance. If you decide that you need to add some more for the balance, add 5 millimeters. I also want to talk to you about the width of the back and the front necklines. There is actually no universal technique for measuring them. I usually make them about 7 or 8 centimeters wide. The best thing to do is to make a mock-up first and decide if you want the neckline to be wider or tighter. There is no universal technique, so no one can tell you exactly what to do. It depends only on your own bodies and measurements. There is actually no other way to make a perfect pattern than to study your own bodies and measurements. Remember that practice makes perfect. You might think that I talk too much, but I just want you to be able to sew the high-quality garments for yourselves. Here's the chart with the measurements. As I've already said, in the left column you can find the sizes, in the middle the corresponding dart opening, and in the right one the balance. The right piece of the paper shows my measurements. We can start working now. I'm going to show you how to make a pattern for the garments with the drop shoulders. The technique is very useful. You can sew a lot of different garments on its basis. I'm going to show you the most simple design. You can change it however you want. Add flounces, collars, make dresses instead of the blouses. I'll show you what to do. I've forgotten to tell you about one more measurement, the bust width. 9 centimeters for the small sizes, 10 centimeters for the medium sizes, and 11 centimeters for the big sizes. These are the recommended measurements. Choose the one which is better for you. My course on the 10 measurement cutting system will be available very soon. It will provide you with all the information you need to make a basic pattern. You can use some interesting details and ideas from these videos for making garments on the basis of the basic patterns. The technique I'm going to show you in these videos is perfect for sewing some simple light garments with the drop shoulders, tops, home clothing, and so on. I'll be making a mock-up, so I'm going to use a pencil or even a marker pen to draw right on the fabric. I'll be doing it for you to see everything clearly. This is modeling fabric anyway. You shouldn't do it. Have a look at the sketch once again. This is a top with the drop shoulders and the V-neck. You can make the neckline of any shape you want. Let's have a look at the measurements once again. 1/2 of the bust, 1/2 of the waist, 1/2 of the hips, 1/2 of the back width, the height of the bust, and the width of the bust. These are the only measurements we need. Let's have a look at the chart once again. The dot opening. 6 centimeters for the sizes 44-46, 7 centimeters for the size 48-50, 8 centimeters for the sizes 52-54, 9 centimeters for the sizes 54-58. As I've already said, those who have big bust can make the dot opening bigger as well. Let's have a look at the extensions for the balance next. I've written them with a red marker pen. 1.5 centimeters for the sizes 44-46, 2 centimeters for the sizes 48-50, 2.5 centimeters for the sizes 52-54, 3 centimeters for the sizes 54-58. In the very rare cases, the balance can be 3.5 centimeters, but not more. This rule is also true for making basic patterns on the basis of the 10 measurement cutting system.
Убираем наши все вот эти
I can move
рекомендации,
all the
список и
needed
начинаем
details aside.
строить. Я буду строить
I'm going to
карандашом,
draw a pattern with a
а
pencil
потом
first,
выкройку
and then
объектом маркером
outline it with a
прямо на
marker
ткани.
pen.
Ничего страшного, ткань рабочая.
I
это
remind you
просто
that I'm
маркерная
going to make a
ткань.
mock-up with the
Линия
modeling
центра
fabric.
спины.
I need to draw the center back first.
От начала
Next,
ткани
I'm
у
going
нас
to
вот
measure
начало
and mark
ткани.
4
От
centimeters
начала
down from
ткани
the edge of the
откладываем
fabric
4
on it.
сантиметра. Вот она, 4 сантиметра. Строим.
After that, I need to draw a horizontal line here.
Смотрите, я уже вам
As
сказала,
I've
я
already
беру
said,
8
the back
сантиметров.
neckline will be
8.
8
Вы сейчас на
centimeters
мне
wide.
увидите, что это такое. И от этой точки
Next, I
вверх
need to drop a
проводим
perpendicular
перпендикуляр.
up from this point.
Начало ткани у
Here
нас
is the edge. The back neckline will be 8 centimeters wide and 4 centimeters deep. If you don't like deep necklines, you can make the back neckline 3 centimeters deep. 4 centimeters is my maximum.
Для меня это и так уже как бы маловато, но я уж делаю вот так 4. От этой точки на самом
This
деле
point
это
marks
у
the
нас
7th neck bone and the
седьмой
center back.
позвонок, точка. Основание шеи по центру спины.
Measure and mark the length of the back down from this point.
Длина спины
In my
41
case, the length of the
сантиметр.
back is 41 centimeter.
Мерка
I'll sign that this
DS.
is the length of the back.
Мерка DS, вот она, длина спины. Ну,
I'll
думаю,
make the
что
top
я
about
свой топ
17
буду делать
centimeters
от
longer.
линии талии сантиметров.
You can make it as long as you
17 пускай
want.
будет. А вы возьмете, сколько вам хочется длину изделия.
What do we
Смотрите, что
have
я
here?
имею.
The
Линию
bottom
низа,
line, the waistline,
линию талии, точка
the
4
7th neck
ширина
bone,
позвонок, ширина
the back
выреза 4,
neckline, which is
глубина,
8 centimeters
ширина
wide
выреза
and 4 centimeters deep.
ростка 8, глубина 4.
8, 4, 41, 17.
17 я взяла.
I drew the last detail by side.
Вы возьмете
You
столько,
can make the
сколько
tops as
хочется
long
вам.
as you want.
Теперь мерку длины спины
Next, I need to divide the
делим
length of the
пополам.
back in
У нас
half.
41,
The
получается
half of 41
20,5.
centimeter is 20.5 centimeters.
Вот это
These two
расстояние равно вот
distances
этому
are even.
расстоянию. Проводим горизонтальную
Next, I need to draw a horizontal line through the marked point.
Моя вот
In
эта
my case,
линия,
the bottom
нижняя,
line
которая на
also serves as the
17
hip line.
сантиметров от линии талии, она у меня служит линией бедра.
It's placed 17 centimeters down from the waist in my pattern. You can make the tops as long as you want. If you make them longer, you need to draw both the hip line and the bottom line. In my case, these two lines match. My hips are actually placed 11 centimeters down from the waist. Anyway, I never use this measurement in sewing. I usually draw them 17 centimeters down from the waist. Next, I need to measure and mark the width of the back, 21 centimeter.
Вертикальную линию.
I remind you that I measured it from the top of the shoulder to the top of the other shoulder.
Что мы имеем? Линию ширины спины.
Next, I need to draw a vertical line through the marked point.
Линия груди.
This line marks the width of the back. What do we have here? The width of the back line, the back neckline, the bust line, the waistline, and the hip line. Next, I need to mark the needed measurements on the bust line, the waistline, and the hip line. The bust measurement is 59 centimeters. 1/2 of the measurement is 29.5 centimeters.
29,5. Это моя грудь.
This is my exact measurement.
Но я
I don't
хочу,
want the
чтобы у
top
меня
to be
еще
too
была
tight,
свобода.
so I need to add some for the
Это уж
ease.
совсем я не буду дышать в такой мерке.
I'm
Поэтому
going
я
to add 2 centimeters for the ease, both to the front and the back
2
details.
сантиметра на полочку и 2,
Always add the
соответственно,
same
получится
measurements to the
на спинку.
details.
Всегда берите равную величину,
This is
чтобы
very
они были
important.
одинаковые, боковой шов был посредине изделия. Значит, я беру
1/2 of the bust measurement is 29.5 centimeters, and I also need to add 2 centimeters for the ease. Before measuring the waist, I need to make the center back slightly round. I'll make it tighter for about 1 or 1.5 centimeters.
Не от этой точки будем сейчас откладывать, а вот от этой.
Draw the line the way I'm showing you. When the pattern is ready, I'll outline it with a marker pen.
Сейчас потом обведем красным маркером нашу всю выкроечку. Значит, от этой точки
This is the point from which the waist measurement should be marked. This is why the center back should be made slightly round in advance.
25 сантиметров.
1/2 of the waist measurement is 25 centimeters. And I also need to add 2 centimeters for the ease. That means that I need to measure and mark 27 centimeters.
У нас 50.
1/2 of the hips measurement is 29 centimeters. I also need to add 2 centimeters for these, so the measurement is 31 centimeters. Let's have a look at what we got here. How can a side seam look this way? I need to make the waist at least 2 centimeters wider, and then draw a side seam through the new point. What do we need to do next? These 2 centimeters should be turned into a tuck. I'll make it about 12 centimeters away from the center back.
Я беру 12. Мы заберем сейчас в талиевую выточку по линии талии.
Have a look here once again. I added 2 centimeters here in order to make the side seam more beautiful. These 2 centimeters should be turned into a tuck. The tuck should end about 3 centimeters up from the bottom and start about 5 centimeters down from the bust. As I've already said, this is the bustline. It has nothing to do with an actual bust top. We need this line just for the designing. Draw a horizontal line to the left from the top of the back neckline. Next, I need to measure and mark about 2.5 centimeters from the top on this line. This is the slope of the shoulder. After that, the marked point should be connected with the top of the back neckline. I'm going to make a shoulder dart here. Notice that the shoulder is not too biased. If you make the slope 2.5 centimeters wide, the shoulders will be more biased. In my case, the width of the slope is 2 centimeters. I want to make a shoulder dart here. To do that, I need to measure and mark 4 centimeters to the left from the top of the back neckline. I want the dart to be 9 centimeters long. I'll sign it. Next, I need to make this line 2.5 centimeters longer. I need to do it in order to draw a dart with an opening 2.5 centimeters. I'm making the dart in order to make the top to fit the shoulders perfectly. I can't make a dart without adding some for its opening. This is very important. When I draw the armhole, I'll show you what the dart was made for. I'll draw the armhole by side. I think that I'll make the slope 7 millimeters wider to the left from the dart. Notice that I made the slope of the shoulder 7 millimeters wider further from the dart. Next, I'm going to outline the details and tell you everything once again very thoroughly. Don't be lazy. It's very important to make the shoulder darts. They make the garments fit us better. The fitting ease is 4 centimeters both for the front and for the back. I added 2 centimeters to 1/2 of the back, so the total ease for the back will be 4 centimeters. I remind you that I also added 2 centimeters here. This is not the ease. I turned them into the
Я
tuck
их
here.
прибавила для того, чтобы тут забрать.
If you want to make a sleeveless garment, you can use these bays as a pattern. Next, I'm going to show you how to make a pattern for the garments with the drop shoulders. There are a lot of different ways for doing it, but I'm going to show you the one which I usually use. I want you to understand that the garments made this way can't fit you as perfectly as the garments made on the basis of the basic patterns. The techniques for sewing without patterns are very useful, but they would never substitute sewing on the basis of the accurate patterns. The pattern for the back is pretty wide. I remind you that I added 2.5 centimeters here in order to make a shoulder dart. The width of the back was measured in advance. I showed you how to do it. These are 1/2 of the bust, the waist, and the hip measurements. I added 2 centimeters for the ease to each of them. I added 2 more centimeters here in order to turn them into a tuck. The bustline was drawn in order to draw the armhole accurately. First, I made the slope of the back shoulders 2 centimeters wide, and then I added 7 millimeters more. I hope that everything is clear so far. That's all for today. Next time, I'm going to show you how to make a pattern for the front, and how to turn these details into a pattern with the drop shoulders. The technique which I'm showing you now is very useful. I'm going to show you how to make a pattern for the front, and how to turn these details into a pattern with the drop shoulders. The technique is pretty similar to the one used for making garments with dolman sleeves. We are not going to get back to any of these measurements. A pattern for the front will be made on the basis of the pattern for the back. The only things which will be different in the front are the chest dart and the balance extension. First, I need to make the shoulder about 8 or 9 centimeters longer. Don't make it too long. I remind you that I'm still working with the back pattern. This pattern is a bit different from the original pattern for garments with the drop shoulders. You know that I prefer fast and easy ways of work. This is why I'm showing you this technique. It's very convenient. Have a look here. The best thing about this technique is that there is no sleeve here in the lower part of the armhole. The sleeve starts higher. Move the end of this line 1 centimeter lower. I can outline the sleeve now. I don't need this line anymore. This one neither. I remind you that I moved the end of the shoulder 1 centimeter lower. That's it. The pattern for the back is ready. I'm going to cut it next. The seam extensions will be included in the pattern. After that, I'm going to make a pattern for the front on the basis of the back detail. I'm sure that you'll make a lot of different garments on the basis of this pattern. There are a lot of different tutorials on how to sew without patterns. I honestly believe that the garment should fit as well no matter how they were made, with a pattern or without it. Do not forget about the seam allowance. 1 centimeter for the center back. I remind you that I've added some for the ease. Don't be afraid to add more than needed. If you do, you'll just make the side seams wider after fitting. The seam extension in the armhole is 7 millimeters. Don't ever add more to the round details. The seam extension in the side seam is 1 centimeter. You can make it wider if you want. I'm not going to do it because the extension for these is big enough in my case. Do not forget to make notches on the waistline. Here it is. I remind you that this is modeling fabric. This is why I'm not afraid of drawing right in it. What do we have here? The shoulder dart, the waist tuck. The pattern looks very nice. I laid the cut back pattern on the fabric. The center back should be right on the fold. Do not forget about the seam extension. The center back itself should be on the fold. Make sure that both the beginning and the end of the seam are in the fold. This is very important. I remind you that the center back is slightly round. The center front will be straight. I don't need to change the bust, the waist or the hips. The length of the shoulder on the front is the same as on the back, but the front shoulder should be made 2.5 centimeters shorter. The shoulder should be even when I close these 2 centimeters wide dart on the back shoulder. That's it. Next, I need to add 3 centimeters for the bellows extension. Very nice. After that, I need to draw the front shoulder. Draw it in such a way that the width of the extension here is just about 5 millimeters. I remind you that we are making a pattern for the garments with the drop shoulders. This is why the shoulders look different from the shoulders in the regular patterns.
Вот наше плечо.
Notice that the extension is much bigger here than it is lower. I remind you that I made the front shoulder 2 centimeters tighter because the shoulder should match when the shoulder darts are stitched. Do not forget about that. The shoulders have to match. This is very important. This is how the front shoulder looks like. Next, I need to measure and mark 8 centimeters down from the point on the center front, which is parallel to the shoulder top. This is the neck base. I'll make the front neckline 12 centimeters deep down from the neck base. You can make it as deep as you want. I remind you that I'm making a V-neck top. I'm going to show you how to make different garments on the basis of this pattern. As I've already said, the technique is very useful. I'll use this mock-up as a pattern. I'm going to draw the center front with a dashed line. I'll outline it when I cut the pattern. These are the front neckline and the front shoulder. The side seam is almost ready. I'll outline it when I cut the front. The only thing left to be done is to draw the chest dart. Let's have a look at the chart. The width of the dart opening for my size is 8 centimeters. First, I need to make this line longer. Next, I need to measure and mark 8 centimeters up from it. I need to outline the side seam. I'll draw it 1 centimeter further with a marker pen. When I do it, I'll detach the back detail. This line marks the end of the side seam. The side seam should be made 8 centimeters longer. Next, I need to draw the armhole. This is how the line should look like. The armhole looks very small. When the dart is stitched, this point will be moved here. When it's done, the armhole will be even to the original one. These are the points I'm talking about. They should match. The armhole should be round. This is very important. Next, I need to draw the waistline. After that, I need to measure and mark the bust height. This is the bust height measurement in the pattern. It's 30 centimeters in my case. I'll mark the bust width 10.5 centimeters away from the center front. This measurement is a bit bigger than it is in my basic pattern. This is the bust top. Next, I need to draw the chest dart. Have a look at what I'm doing. The thing is that the chest dart should be 8 centimeters wide. You can place it wherever you want. You can make it horizontal. You can place it a bit higher or lower. I'll draw it here. When the dart is ready, I'll outline it with a marker pen. Make sure that the dart legs are even. (20.7 centimeters). In my case, they're almost even. It's absolutely okay. In my pattern, the dart is almost horizontal. If you make it higher or lower, the dart legs won't be even. I'll add some for the ease extension to the bust. I remind you that the center back was slightly round. Notice that the center front is straight. Next, I need to draw a waist tuck here. I'll make it 2 centimeters wide because I've already added some for the ease. As I've already said, the center back is slightly round and the center front is straight. I'll outline the tucks with a marker pen. I need to add some to the bust, because the dart will be stitched and ironed. That's it. Be very attentive. I can start cutting the front now. If you make a pattern for the back accurately, you won't have any problems when making a pattern for the front. Add the balance extension to the front, make a side seam longer according to the dart opening, draw a chest dart. That's it. You don't need any other measurements but the ones used for making the back. I'm drawing right on the fabric because I'm making a mock-up. This is how the cut details look like now. Have a look at the side seams. When the dot is stitched, they will be even. The side seams in the front and the back details should match. This is very important. Let's have a look at the shoulders next. The back shoulder is longer now. When the dot is stitched, they will be even. The armhole in the front detail looks too small. When the chest dart is stitched, the armhole will be accurate. This is how it's going to look like. This part can be made even more round. Try the mock-up on first to decide if you need to do it. This is a pattern for the garments with the drop shoulders. You'll be able to sew a lot of different garments on its bases. I signed the waistline and the bolt details. Those who have slim waists will have to make additional tucks here. Don't ever make the side seams more round. They should be smooth and beautiful. The width of the tucks should be even to the width of the extensions. I don't recommend making the waist tucks more than 2.5 centimeters wide. As I've already said, the technique for making such patterns is pretty simple. Try making mock-ups first. Learn to work with the dot openings and the balance extensions. You can make a lot of different garments on the basis of these patterns. Today we continue working with the pattern for the garments with the drop shoulders. Have a look at the sketch once again. I've showed you how to make the pattern very thoroughly. Today I'm going to tack the mock-up and try it on. I want you to have a close look at the way it fits me. Here is the pattern which we made in the previous videos. When I try the mock-up on, I'll talk to you about the garments which can be made on the basis of this pattern. Anyway, first I need to tack the mock-up. When I do it, I'll try it on. I want you to have a look at the way the mock-up fits me. You know that it's not hard to make such patterns. I want you to see that it's not only simple, but it also fits the body well. I don't recommend making some serious garments, dresses, coats, and so on using this technique. It's perfect for sewing simple tops or home clothing, or vacation clothes in summer. I've already tacked the center back. I'm taking the tucks in the back now. I'm taking the waist tucks on the back. Next, I'm going to tack the shoulder darts. The back is ready. I can move on to tacking the front. I'll tack the chest darts next. I need to pin them first. One of the dart legs is a couple of millimeters longer than the other one. It's absolutely okay. I'm not going to stretch or gather the fabric. I'm taking it the way it is. Don't ever stretch or gather the dart legs in order to make them even. Have a look here. The difference in the dart legs is just about 2 millimeters. This is how they should be tacked. In my case, the chest darts are straight. They were drawn with a ruler. I know that the darts would fit me perfectly. If you see that these parts are baggy at the fitting, alter the darts a bit. Tack them once again, making the center part of the dart slightly round. The ends of the dart should be straight. I'm not going to do it now. I just wanted to show you how it should be done. This is a way to make a garment fit you better. I'm taking the waist tuck. How lucky I am to have a perfect square body. I drew the lines with a marker pen for you to see everything clearly. I'll be honest, this technique of working right of fabric is pretty convenient. Have a close look here. Those of you who have flat bellies can stitch the tucks to the bottoms. If you don't do it, there will be the extra extension on the belly. Be very attentive. This is very important. Next, I need to tack the sides and the shoulder seams. Do not forget to match the notches on the waistline. It doesn't matter whether you are making a garment on the basis of a basic pattern or not. The notches on the waistline have to match. What is also important is that the center front in the right and the left details should match as well. I think that the top is going to be pretty wide because I added 4 centimeters for the ease both to the front and the back. If you want the tops to fit you better, you can either add less for the ease extension or make the side seams wider. You'll understand what to do when you start working. I'm taking the shoulder seams. Due to the fact that I was working accurately, the shoulders match perfectly. That's it. I'm ready to try the mock-up on. I haven't changed anything off the camera. I'm going to see how the mock-up fits me for the first time together with you. I drew the lines with a red marker pen for you to see everything clearly. If I decide that I need to make some alterations, I'll do it after the fitting. The top is ready. I drew the center front with a marker pen instead of making a spacing seam. I put the tag top on. It's not too wide. It's true that it's not close-fitting, but it's not too wide either. Have a look at the way the bust fits me. The drop shoulders are also perfect. You can't even imagine how many different garments can be made on the basis of this pattern. Dresses, blouses, tops, dressing gowns, home clothing. In the previous videos, I showed you the making of the pattern very thoroughly. I showed you how to take the measurements, how to draw the tucks and darts, how to make the drop shoulders. I love the way the drop shoulders look like. They are also very comfortable. I drew the 2 sketches for you. The designs are very simple. They're perfect for people who are not very good at sewing. Have a look at the first one.
эскиз.
The top of the dress is absolutely the same as the one I'm wearing now. As I've already said, you can make a round neckline instead of the V-neck. There are 2 flounces in the skirt. One should be attached on top of the other. The thing I want to pay attention to is that the skirt should be double. It should be lined, and the lining should be gathered as well for the dress to look good. Attach different flounces and ruffles. Edge the details with lace, bias bindings, or some other details. As I've already said, you can sew a lot of different garments on the basis of this pattern. I'm going to show you one more sketch. I recommend you making such simple dresses first. In one of the next videos, I'm going to show you how to make a button stand on the center front. I've already showed you how to make button stands in the garments. Watch the videos if you haven't done it yet. In the videos, I showed you the technique for working with the basic patterns. It can also be applied to the garments made on the basis of this pattern. I've already showed you the first sketch. Here it is. Let's have a look at the second one. I also recommend you making such amazing blouses with the drop shoulders. This is a turn-down collar. I've already showed you how to make them. Watch the videos on how to sew a warm dress or on how to make a Chanel-style jacket. In the videos, I showed you how to make such turn-down collars very thoroughly. Measure the neckline first, and then turn a regular collar into a turned-down one. I love this design. A placket on the center front is edged with the flounces. The turned-down collar looks amazing, and there is a ribbon seen from under it. You can make a stand collar instead of a turned-down one. You can make a flounce instead of a collar. Decorate the blouse however you want. Have a look at the 3 sketches, the original one and the 2 new ones. Use your imagination. Make flared dresses. Attach different ruffles and flounces. Combine fabrics, and so on. I showed you how to make a pattern for the garments with the drop shoulders. You can sew a lot of different garments on its basis. The fact that I showed you the top with the V-neck doesn't mean that you all need to make such tops. Change the design however you want. Use your imagination. Learn to work with lace. Make different interesting details and decorations. If you attach the flounces to the shoulders, they will look like sleeves. This is also a very useful technique. The best thing about this pattern is that you don't need to insert the sleeves. I know that a lot of people find it hard to do. I'm glad that I finally had a chance to show you this technique. That's all for today. Be different and beautiful. My name is Irina. Subscribe to my channel, write comments, share videos, press the like and the bell buttons. I would really appreciate your support. Thank you. Goodbye.